Sahana Vavatu Sahano Manattu Sahavidyankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. Every human is a combination of spirit and matter. The spirit component is what is referred as the self, Atman, Brahman, or pure consciousness. This self has very many adjectives, very many ways it is referred. And the matter component, which is this body, mind, and intellect, that is what we interact with. The spirit component we don't interact with. Like, we don't interact with the electricity, we interact only with the gadgets. Same way, you use only your computer. You don't use electricity. You can use computer only if there is electricity. If there is no electricity, you can't use. Similarly, you can't use a refrigerator without electricity. Without electricity, refrigerator and your Godrej bureau, same thing. There is no difference. But once there is electricity, the functioning of that is different, the functioning of this is different. Same way, this equipment with which we live. But then the problem is, this equipments come in and when they interact with the world, the equipments do get affected by the fluctuations that is happening in the world. Like any fluctuation happens in the power, there is a fluctuation in the class. See, the live class, that will not happen. If there is a power failure happens, we can just continue talking. In fact, better for the students. The power goes off, better for the students. You can go to sleep. See, here a little fluctuation comes in the electricity, the whole thing is lost. Same way, the fluctuations of the world will affect the body, will affect the mind, will affect the intellect. Now this combination, human combination, has a choice to identify himself with the equipments or identify with the spirit component. The combination, human, has the choice. If he identifies with the equipments, he has no choice but to be affected by the world. When he identifies with the spirit component, then he doesn't get affected. See what he gives a beautiful, chart there. See the pictures there. You will see there this magnet can influence the metal piece, which is the body, mind, and intellect. Whereas the cell is the wooden piece. The magnet cannot influence the wooden piece. However, when this metal piece and the wooden piece were to be together, combination will definitely get disturbed, get affected by the metal piece. Even then, even if this combination were to be appearing to be influenced by the metal piece, by the magnet, it is not because of the self, it is because of its association with the metal piece. The wooden piece doesn't get affected, correct? But it will appear to be getting influenced by the magnet. When the wooden piece ties itself up with the metal piece, that tying up is what is referred as identification. When you identify with the equipments, you will be affected. You can't escape from that affectation. You will get affected. Whereas when you are considering yourself to be the wooden piece, then it is not. This is where Vedanta stands totally different from all other religion. In fact, it is a different culture, says Ramatirtha. It is a special culture. Vedanta is a special culture it brings into. Why? Because from the beginning, Vedanta asserts that you are the self. It is not that you are going to become the self. It is not that you have to acquire that selfhood. It's not that you have to become Brahman one day. It's not that, actually speaking. You are that today. You are that wooden piece. But because of your association with the metal piece, you have assumed, you have started believing yourself to be the metal piece. That is a mistake. That's where the goal of religion comes into picture. The goal of religion is you as a human being has to move out. As long as you are associating this side, you have no choice but to get affected. That affectation, it means what? Any change means affectation. This is what we saw in the last class. Any affectation is a change. Any change brings about a disturbance, because in the world you had put in so much of effort to get the change, whatever we call as a positive change also. Like, I am a clerk, I work so hard to become a manager, believing what? Once I become a manager, fulfillment, completeness I achieve. But then once you reach there, what happens? You experience the same emptiness, same wanting, same disturbances, perhaps more, if not less. That's why psychological problems are more in the affluent society. A poor man's problem is only one. Rich man's problem is many. You see, first problem of a rich man is what? People like us. He'll start nagging you guys too with donations. You see, can you give donation? Can you give donation? My God, nuisance man, you fellows are. And we don't go to that fellow and ask, we don't nag him like that. It is a problem. So much of problem is experienced once you reach there. But before that, you believed what? Once I get there, I will be complete. I'll be happy. At least you had the hope earlier. Now, even that hope is gone. Now, what are you, sir? Hopeless case. After achieving, you become a hopeless case. Then how will you live your life? The problem is, you go there, till you get there, you had this belief. Once you go there, it looks as empty, as wanting, as incomplete as you had earlier. Right? That is what is referred as sorrow. Now, isn't it self-realization also the same way will happen, sir? That's where the difference comes into picture. Vedanta says that is not possible because self-realization is not something that you have to acquire. Because by nature, anything acquired will be lost. That's the law of life. You acquire something. The moment you acquire it, there is a possibility of losing it. So if self-realization were to be something that I need to acquire somewhere in future, then obviously there is a possibility of losing that. That is why Vedanta, in the beginning itself, it says, no. Self-realization is not something that you need to acquire. You are that self right now. But I don't know that. That is the problem. The problem is only that. Why you are not able to see yourself like that? Because of your constant association with the equipments for aneka janma. For so many janmas you have been associating yourself only with the equipments. Only difference is that equipment or this equipment. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's the same only. You see, whether this womb or that womb is just that is all the differences. Right? You keep moving from one to another to another to another. Because of that, you have been having this belief today. Therefore, it looks so. That is why the goal of religion to us looks impractical. So Vedanta is not a practical thing, you see, all of us say. See, Ishwaran, whatever you talk is, when you're talking, it looks very nice. But it's not practical, The Swamiji is not talking practical, you see, they tell me. Yes, it will not look practical because please remember that word practical is a vague terminology. Okay. Practical to whom? It will be practical when today 2 plus 2 is so practical. Tables. Like I remember, ninth table. How do you teach a ninth table to a child? 9 ones are 9, 9 twos are 18. How would you teach? It looks so easy for you and me. 2 plus 2 is 4. Looks so easy for you and me. But for the child, what is 9 threes are? You say, no, you start counting 1, 2, 3. That's why there's a lot of techniques they have brought into big picture. You see, how they teach is this 9, they show. You see, 9, correct. 2, 18, 3, 27. Like that they go. It just keeps moving slowly like that. Development is so easy for the child. But however, the child doesn't understand the logic of it. He struggles. It's confusing. How is that possible? It looks impractical for the child. But remember, the goal means it will appear impractical. When Gandhiji said, we are just taking it, he's not the first person to start. He started before him itself. He's the one who brought it into a bigger way. When Gandhiji said, I'm going to fight for freedom using ahimsa as a weapon, say how impractical you are. How can you do that? It is impractical. No one has ever done that in the world. Yes, any goal will appear impractical in the beginning. The fellow said, I'm going to scale Everest. The first person who ran in 10 seconds, 100 meters. But what was interesting is the moment he crossed in the next 6 months, hundreds of people were able to cross 10 seconds, 100 meters. How is it? Once one fellow claimed that Everest mountain, how many people have claimed after that? So many of them have done that after that. But when he was doing, what is it, sir? It was impractical. Of course, it was impractical for those who started also, for every one of them. It's not that it was very practical for them. But at least the subsequent people had that belief. The girl who claimed, I was feeling so jealous of her actually when I read that. She claimed Everest. And then the picture shows she has no legs. Artificial limbs. That girl, I said, that is called goal in life. Remember, any goal will appear impractical in the beginning. When it will look impractical is the time you have to slog. Your logical mind will never agree to that. Your common sense will say, Ishwaran, first prove that to be practical. It is possible by me. And then I will start working. No goal will work. Same rule is applied for the goal of religion also. In the goal of religion also, it will not appear practical at all in the beginning. That impracticality is what you have to work, slog. How can it be possible that I am the self today? No. Tell me one day I will become. That I agree with. But don't say that I am Brahman today. In fact, most of us prefer to call ourselves as sinners. That's what, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, he says, the greatest lie a man can say is, I am an individual. Biggest lie, what is it? I am an individual. If I say that I am individual, you are a liar. Says. And Ram Tirtha goes on saying, says, there is only one sin in the world. There is no other sin. The sin of ignorance. The greatest saint. And today has happened to be his Jayanti. Ram Tirtha Jayanti today. Pranams to him. See, I think there is a question here. We have. Yeah, about change. Last class it was said, change means sorrow. Evolution is also considered to change. How is it different from worldly change? That is what I am explaining now. Exactly. There's a question being asked by somebody. What I'm explaining is, here you cannot call it as change at all, actually speaking. Even though we claim it as evolution, you grow, all these things, nothing of that is happening, actually speaking. All that you are doing is what? Is you are only recollecting, recognizing, that's about it. That's where elsewhere he gives a beautiful example of that lady who calls her husband halfway through in office, is busy in the meeting. He calls him and says, hey, I am disturbed because this necklace that you got me, the diamond necklace for our anniversary. Yes, that's missing. Husband also gets panicked. See, because diamond necklace now you can't get by loan. See, you got to pay full and get it. So car means, what, down payment only have done. It's a problem of the banker, not yours. You have to do away with it. The banker will have to suffer for that. You're fully paid. See, he rushes from the office. He comes and this lady had turned the house upside down with the search. And now he comes, rings a calling bell. The lady with panic, she comes and opens a door. And he looks at her and he gets so wild. She thought, because she lost that necklace, he is angry. He says, you idiot, etc. Okay. The rest of it, you people fill it up. Okay. If you don't know, lose something and call your husband. He will know. Okay. You idiot, says, what? You lost. What is around your neck then? That lady suddenly touches her neck. Hey. And she goes back. In fact, she feels so embarrassed. That's what this, Upanishads, they say. When you realize the self, you don't feel the bliss of it. You feel embarrassed. You'll have a tremendous embarrassment. What? You feel so awkward. It's just around the neck. That's it. Now, what is the amount of money she has to pay? How much money she has to pay? How much effort she has to put in for her to gain a necklace? What is it she has to do? She has never lost it. All around it was there, around her neck only. She has never lost it, actually speaking. Same way, this cannot be called as an acquisition, you see. Whereas anything that happens in the world with reference to body, mind, and intellect is acquired. Anything acquired is a change. The change. Vedanta says this evolution is not a change itself. That is where Vedantic concept of evolution is very different from Darwin's evolution theory. There he gives, this will change, this. Here, no change. You are coming back to your house. You are coming back. There is a change. Vedanta says, when are you bound, first of all, for you to strive for liberation? But the problem is that statement will not resonate with our experience. Isn't it? That statement will not resonate with our experience. That is what goal of religion is. It will keep repeating that. It will keep on saying that, no, you are not a sinner. You are the self. You are not a sinner. But we are so comfortable calling ourselves as sinner. Yes, sir. Today I am a sinner. Tomorrow I am going to become saint. That looks far more inspiring to all of us than to take an idea that today you are a saint. It's not that there is a classification of people who are all sinners, who are all saints. There's no classification. In block, it is saint. The problem is we can't recognize it. See, he gives a story. There was a king who was not having a heir. So no wife, no child, nothing. So he has to select the next king. How to appoint the next king? He said, okay, I will do one test. Whoever passes the test will get that, will become the king next. What is a test? He had an open invitation to the whole country. Whoever wants to come, they can come to that Mela celebration, a huge celebration ground. Right there, he had put up stalls, amazing stalls, eateries and games and shows and discussions and movies. So many things were there, all free, no charges, no entry fee also, free entry. In that entire place, this king would be somewhere disguised. The one who identifies the king, he will become the next king. So in the beginning, so many of them came. The whole country comes. Who will say no? I didn't see that advertisement. If I would have seen the advertisement, I also would have gone. No class today, I would say. I would have said, cancel the class. I'm busy today. I would have gone. See. So many of them have been there. It came in the papers and advertisement came and huge number. And that's the stalls where our 500, 600 stalls are there. Huge. Now, every one of them who came in, walked into that ground, Mela, only with the idea of what? Locating the king. Right? The king who is disguised, they have to locate. They all entered with that idea, but the enchantments of the Mela is so much so, lot of them got involved at different stages. Majority got involved in the food stall. Must be all from Bangalore. The food stall finished. We don't see more of it. Beyond that, we can't see anything. Yes. That's why, we always, even meetings, people ask like that. Is it before breakfast, after breakfast? Class, we ask them, announcing the class, sir, can we have it after breakfast or before breakfast? Discussion also. Is it meeting now, before lunch or after lunch? Either this way or that way. Constantly, goes on only like that. This stall, that stall, people got involved. And over a period of time, people forgot for what they entered the ground itself. In that, there was a boy. There's nothing doing. Everywhere he goes, he keeps seeing everyone. Like, who is this? 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 Goes on saying he could not find that king at all. He had checked into the entire Mela. And second visit also he has done. Because he is not involving himself in anything, you see. So he is not wasting his time at all. So he's checking. And suddenly he got a doubt in the entire process itself. He said, hey, the king must have been making a joke of all of us. Because who will give a kingship like this exam? See, for every post there has to be a test, means the test has to be tougher, you see. Higher the education, tougher the entrance exam. In a good college you have to get, means you have to go for a tough examinations. You see, kinghood is such a big thing. I think the king is making fun of all of us. He got, completely fed up. He said, no way. I think there is some foul game is being played by somebody here. He goes and goes and goes. He sees one dilapidated temple, that Mela. In the dilapidated temple, he goes and sits in the evening. That evening puja time that was. The evening puja time, the arati is being done. So when the arati is going on in the temple, it's supposed to go. You see, you can't be turning your head that side and keep walking. So he's ringing the bell and doing this one. The boy gets up. He rushes inside the temple. He looks at not the deity. He calls the pujari out. Come out. I want to examine you. And when he examines that pujari, it happened to be the king. Identified the king there. That's what effort means. Any goal will look impractical. Remember this. The goal of religion is the real goal in life because absolutely impractical. At least other goals will appear little possible. This is an impossibility, but still you have to strive towards it. That striving is the culmination of life. Striving towards that perfection is the culmination life. The problem is we don't want to put in that effort. Why we are not motivated is because of the very nature of the goal, which is beyond your intellectual conception. You can't even conceive that goal. Now, when you can't even conceive that goal, how are you going to be motivated to pursue it? Very tough this is. That's why we need a tremendous motivation. Tremendous support is needed. And don't worry, you start the promise given by all the scriptures is support will come to you. You don't have to worry about it. If you are a student, the Shastras give us the confirmation that Guru will come and knock at your door. That's it. You don't have to go in search of who's my Guru and all that. He will come to your doorstep. But requirement is what, sir? Are you committed? How your commitment has to be like that of the boy who is refusing to get involved in the enchantments of the stalls. There is an enchantment, physical, material, emotional, intellectual. All this is the stalls. Go beyond that, you achieve that. But then you are ignorant. That ignorance of yours, you have to overcome. How do you overcome that ignorance, sir? That ignorance has a particular manifestation as your personality. Now, your personality, when we say, we are not referring to your physical appearance. Right? That's not your personality. Nor your personality is to be understood as your behavioral pattern. That is also not that. Then how do we understand? Is where he moves to the next idea, the personality chart. Now, I can't afford to do the entire personality chart portion. Remember this. It is not possible. Why? I tell you. That is why I have taken this chapter earlier, that particular portion from the book. We had about 11 classes on that. 11 sessions I have had on explaining the personality chart. Now, to do that again will become, too much. Repeating and, for those who wanted to study that can send an email to this info@vedantabangalore.org. I repeat, info@vedantabangalore.org. If you send a mail, we can share the recordings. You can listen there because there it's a detailed analysis. Now, today, we can't do that right now. Now, if we do that, then again I have to go that 11 classes again. See, so that will become too heavy. Now, spiritual path, the goal is this. The goal is realization. How do you go there, sir? For which you have to be willing and you have to be available for correction. Correction and correction and correction. The entire spiritual path is nothing but constant and consistent effort of correction, self-correction. Now, if I have to correct myself, what I need to correct in me, when I will be able to see that? That ability to see can come into picture only when you have that screen that is covering, enveloping, has to be removed. So how do you remove that screen of ignorance? You can't simply say that I'll keep a bomb there and blast the whole thing. Not possible. You have to work on that solid rock-like ignorance. How can you work on that? Is where the personality chart comes into picture. I repeat, why he is suddenly jumping to personality chart here is only for this purpose. If the goal of religion is that, and I am committed to reach there, what is obstructing, what is causing that obstruction is just an ignorance. All that I have to remove that ignorance, but I don't understand what is that ignorance, how that ignorance is, all that I have no idea. Therefore, we have to go to the step of how to remove that ignorance. If you say that I have to know how to remove that ignorance, then we go by the manifestation of that ignorance first. How that ignorance expresses, how that ignorance is actually standing. What is that ignorance in you? That ignorance is what is expressing in you as the three gunas. Satvikam, Rajasam, Tamasam. Generally referred as Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Right. Now, what is this Sattva? What is this Rajas? What is this Tamas? We have seen that earlier in little introduction. Basic idea we have seen. Sattvic means this, Rajasic means this, Tamasic this means this. Sattvic means what? A state of mind where you are serene, objective, matured, peace. That is Sattvic. Rajasic is a state of passion coupled with agitation. That is Rajas. A state where so many desires are there, as a result of which there is so much of pressure to do things. Because of the pressure of the desires, there is so much of agitation. We have seen this also already. Presence of desire causes agitation. Why? Suspense. The moment you have a desire, there is a suspense created around the desire. Will it be fulfilled? It is not going to be fulfilled. Then, if it is fulfilled, problem. Not fulfilled, problem. When the desire exists, problem. Only two options you have when you have that desire. Both the things happens also problem. That is what is called as a Rajasic state. A state where so many desires, so many problems. You have 100 units of desires, then you have 100 units of problem, agitation. That's all. Then you have the third condition called tamas. Tamas is a state of indolence, laziness, and inaction. where you refuse to act. So Rajas means passionate action with agitation. Tamas means inaction, resistance to action. When we say tamas, what we mean is you resist action. That is called tamas. Resist action means resist performance of obligatory actions. You resist to perform obligations. You will not resist to enjoyment. That is called a tamasic person. You see, a tamasic fellow will be performing actions. For what, sir? He is performing actions means he is doing things for enjoyment. There he is acting. He'll be eating constantly. You see, people, indulge. Indulgence is his life. Indulgence means is what? You are not performing actions. You are just enjoying. That's about it. So actions, when you say there is resistance to action, means in Vedanta, whenever we use the word action, immediately within brackets you have to add. What's that? Obligation. He will resist performing obligations. Rajasic person will be performing his obligations, but he is performing it out of desire. Right? Sattvic person is one who will perform his obligations. Why? Because it's his obligations. That's all. No liking towards that. No desire for this. It's not because of his desire he is doing it. You see? Now, this is basic one. Tamas means what, sir? Rajas means this is. There's another way of understanding it. In a simpler term, in that same equation. Tamas means non-reacting to the perception. That is called a tamas. Like buffalo will see, but it will not react. You see, in a herd of buffaloes, one lion will come and attack one of them, and it will kill, it will keep dragging. Look at all the other buffaloes. What are they doing? They will just start grazing. That's all. They will just continue. You see, they don't react. There's a fantastic sunrise, beautiful color formation in the sky. The buffalo will look at it. It's not that buffalo doesn't look at it. It sees. It registers in its own color combination. I'm not saying it will see the same color combination. It sees it in its own color combination. But still, there is no sense of, wow. It will hear that music. It will register the music, but it will not react. Isn't it? You have seen that on the road. When you're driving a car, you go on honk. Sometimes we see men walk like that. Animals move. That means what? This is more tamasic than that. That's what it means. That is called a tamas. Tamas means non-reacting to the perception. Tamas. Rajas means I react, keeping my likes and dislikes, keeping my desires as the reference point. That is called Rajas. I react to a stimulus, I react to the perception, only keeping the reference point of my liking or dislikes. Based on that, I react. Then it is called Rajas. Sattva means you react, keeping your obligation or the goal as a reference point. What is my mission in life? What is my vision? What is my goal? What is my obligation? Based on that, I will react. So, Sattvic person also will react. Rajasic person also will react. Only difference is, what is the reference point for them? That's all. The reference point for the Rajasic person is his likes and dislikes, his emotions, his desires. For a Sattvic person, it is his mission, it's his obligation, it's his goal. Keeping the goal as a reference point, he will react. That reaction is different from reacting based on my likes and dislikes. You see, you receive the perception, you register it, but you are not reacting at all to that. That is called tamas. Extreme of that is what? You don't even register it. You see, there's no discussion about that. There's no point in talking about that fellow who is, it's like talking about a blind man. You have a discussion about light with a blind man. Now, what discussion you can have with the blind? You see, at least you must have a partial blindness. You see, partial blindness, there are people who can't register certain colors. The colors they can't see. They see everything, but they don't see those colors. Like, there is a power, things like that. Now, tamas means you register no reaction to the world. Rajas, you register, you react, keeping your desires as the reference point. Sattva, you register, react, keeping the goal, obligation as a reference point. That is a Sattvic person. Now, what he is doing is, he's taking this from this portion, Bhagavad Gita. See, some places we can't be referring. You see, what is taken from where? Like I did mention earlier, a particular analysis we have seen is taken from Vedanta Culmination. We can't be quoting them like that. Everywhere it cannot be. But that is why we say the entire book is not the individual thinking of the author. It is what is given in the scriptures being taken and given in a particular sequence for us, so that we get all the concepts progressively without missing out an idea. That's the advantage of the book. That's all the author is saying. It's not his, nothing in the book is this. Swamiji goes on saying in every lecture, every public lecture he gives, he'll never forget to refer this. Nothing in the book is mine. That is why I recommend it, he says. Nothing. If there is something of mine were to be there. In fact, that's how we recommend also people when you are reading a book, particularly a spiritual textbook, read the preface, introduction. If you find a single I, that book is not worth to be read as a spiritual book. You can read it as other book. That is it, nothing wrong in that. I'm not saying, books in economics and, finance has to be written like that. No. This rule is applicable only for the book of philosophy, religion, spiritual. When you say there is no I comes into picture. See? So here they give it that. So this portion, what we have here, is taken from the Bhagavad Gita directly. In the Gita, he does this analysis. The 18th chapter, where he is doing the analysis of human being ignorance. I'm just repeating. Ignorance. Ignorance expresses as sattva, rajas, tamas. You generally understand sattva, rajas, tamas. Then he does a further dissection so that we get far more clarity on how sattva, rajas, tamas functions in our personality, for which he takes up 7 dimensions of life and divides each one facet into three categories. Sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva, rajas, tamas. How he is taking is this sequence he goes. Knowledge, action, actor, dhriti, consistency, intellect, happiness, renunciation. These are the 7 facets. Okay. Why the sequencer? Because any action that you have to perform, you need knowledge. Without knowledge, you cannot perform an action. Like in the commentators give this as an example to explain this. They say, if you have to make a pot, what is the necessity there? There has to be knowledge of pot making. If there is no knowledge of pot making, you cannot make a pot. It's not easy to do it. Like in the olden days, they have that cart, the bullock cart. They put a wheel, and the wheel will have the lining of a steel iron one. They put up. How they fix it? It's an art by itself. Everyone can't do it. You see, you should know how to do that. You got to have that exact measurement. It has to be, the whole thing needs to be, iron has to be heated up, and expansion has to happen. And then place the wheel, and in that contraction, it should just stuck to that wheel. That's it. It's such an art. When you see them doing it, so same way, potters, how they make it, it looks so innocuous, so casual. He'll be talking to you and he'll be making it. But you go and put your hand there. You see, you'll get monkey only, they say. You don't get any shape. You can't get it. It's a knowledge. You got to have that knowledge of pot making. Correct. Then they say that pot making knowledge may be there, but the knowledge cannot stand independent of the potter. You see, there has to be a potter for the knowledge of pot making to stand. So, actor, then that pot maker should actually make that pot. Unless he actually makes the pot, we will never know whether there is knowledge of pot making in a person or not. That's why they call, our Manusmriti, he gives a beautiful example. How do you know whether a man is knowledgeable or not? Allow him to talk for 10 minutes. Start listening from the 11th minute. Don't listen to any talk. That does mean from next class onwards, I'll switch on at 7:10. Okay. Even if you listen from 7 itself, you're not understanding. Right? The 7:10 means you will not have a clue of what's going on. You see? First 10 minutes, because you can, first 10-15 minutes, you can consciously create sentences and talk. After 10th, 15th minute, you can't focus yourself. You lose the whole thing. You see, that's what happens. That's why they say mouth. In Tamil, they call it as vai. Means it has another meaning also. It's the entrance. The house door is there, no entrance. Don't keep it open all the time, they say. Keep your door shut. When you need to go out, you open the door and go. Don't keep it wide open all the time. If you keep it wide open all the time, what will happen? Everyone can see what's happening inside. What is inside? And we know what is inside all of us. So it's better to keep the mouth shut. Same way, this idea of this analysis, sattva, rajas, tamas, expression has to be there. The potter has to actually make the pot. Only then it is complete. Otherwise, it is incomplete. Therefore, that set. What is it? Knowledge, actor, action. Then comes in life, if you want to be successful, there has to be consistency. Like we saw the case of that boy who searched for the king consistently. Right? Edmund Hillary pursued it consistently. He did not get deterred by his failures. It seems that, he used to keep that portrait of, you know, Everest and keep telling it seems, every day. One day I will stand on top of you. One day I'll stand top. One day I'll stand top. Well, a consistent pursuit. If you are not consistent, your action is incomplete. Therefore, consistency also taken into account. Fourth factor. The fifth factor is for you to maintain that consistency, for you to hold on that knowledge, for you to convert that knowledge into action, you need buddhi, intellect. Right? So, buddhi and consistency taken together. Another portion. 5. Then, what are you trying? For what you are doing all these things? For what you are gaining the knowledge? For what you are doing the action? For what you are being consistent? All this is, all your efforts culminates in the pursuit of happiness. So that happiness is also analyzed into 3 categories: sattva, rajas, tamas. Then sometimes you move away from action also, no? Renounce also, no? That renunciation also has to be classified into 3 sections. So first set has 3. Second set has 2. Third set has another 2. First set of analysis is knowledge, actor, action. 3. Second set is 2 things: consistency, intellect. Third set is this. For the convenience sake, I'm just giving an example. You can take it. Visualize a tree to be the human personality. There. The whole thing is emerging from where? The whole tree emerges from what, sir? Seed. That seed is the knowledge. Then the tree has 2 sets of roots: primary root and the secondary root. Actor, action. This is there. Then you have the trunk and the branches. The whole tree comes out from there. That is consistency and intellect. In the trunk you don't see anything. In the branches only you see the fruits hanging. That fruit is happiness. You make a juice out of it. That is renunciation. Right. What is the essence of happiness, sir? Renunciation is the essence of happiness. Tena tyaktena bhujita, says the Isavasya Upanishad. May you enjoy through renunciation, says. So real happiness is where? Not in all these things, man. Real happiness is in renunciation. Therefore, we study renunciation also. So sukham and renunciation goes together. Intellect consistency goes together. Actor who has the knowledge performing the action goes together. These 7 dimensions were analyzed in terms of what is sattvic knowledge, what is rajasic knowledge, what is tamasic knowledge. Sattvic actor, rajasic actor, tamasic actor. Sattvic action, rajasic action, tamasic action. Sattvic consistency, rajasic consistency, tamasic consistency. This is where very many things are important to understand. We all believe consistency by itself is a great quality. No. You can be consistent in tamas also. You see, consistency by itself is not great. You are consistent about what defines the whole thing. You see, so don't take it as consistency itself is something positive. No. He classifies that into 3 sections. I'm not going into the details of it because once I start one, I have to go for everything. You see, instead of that, you can read it yourself. For those I have already told, for those who want to learn more, can listen to that classes. That 11 classes are there. There we have done a detailed study, a little detail, I would say. More, I don't know whether it is complete or incomplete, I don't know. Generally we say never we have completed the study of anything. We start halfway, leave halfway. That's how life is in the study. So there is some details are there in that. That is for sure. Then we have this intellect. Is also sattvic intellect, rajasic intellect, tamasic intellect. Then sattvic happiness, rajasic happiness, tamasic happiness. Sattvic renunciation, rajasic renunciation, tamasic renunciation. He says, first understand the chart. So what you do is 3 columns or make it as 4 columns. In the first column, particulars. In that particulars, you have this 7 rows. Knowledge, actor, action, consistency, intellect, happiness, renunciation. Put that. Then you go through it, go through the book, or you listen to the class, you understand something. Whatever you understand as sattvic knowledge, put it there. Whatever you understand as rajasic knowledge, put it there in 2-3 sentences, not more than that. In an essence, right? Like we saw in the beginning, sattva, rajas, tamas. Tamas means what, sir? Non-reacting to the world. Rajas, reacting with the desires. Sattva, reacting with goal, with obligation. That's it. So now you have an idea of what is tamas, what is rajas, what is sattva. Same way, what is sattvic knowledge, what is rajasic knowledge, what is tamasic knowledge. Put it up. Do this. Then apply that to your life. Okay. That is the exercise. Right. How much of that sattvic knowledge you carry, how much of that rajasic knowledge you carry, how much of that tamasic knowledge you carry. How much of a sattvic actor you are, rajasic actor you are, tamasic actor you are. How much of sattvic action you perform, how much of rajasic action you perform, how much of tamasic action you perform. Try to be as neutral as possible. It will not be possible. Somewhere down the line, you will either overestimate yourself or underestimate yourself. Because when I did first time, I gave myself about 70%. Very modestly. I gave sattvic knowledge. See, 70% sattvic knowledge. He said, if you have 70% sattvic knowledge, why do you join the course? He said. That's not the way to do it. But there's no option, he's immature, there's no maturity. You simply do, that's all, You read it, it'll look, so simple. Like, what is sattvic knowledge? If you see, sattvic knowledge is nothing but the knowledge with which you see oneness everywhere, that's all. This is sattvic knowledge. Now, are you not saying everybody one? Immediately your answer will be what? Correct. Everybody is equal, sir. You say no. Therefore, what? All of us will put ourselves as. I genuinely thought 70% when I gave, I was underestimating myself. Genuinely, I thought. You see, ideally speaking, I should have given 90%. Because 100% means I'm already realized. So then it's not possible. So I can't do that. So therefore, I said, 90% it should be there. But out of humility, I said 70%. Munja Pari, he said, he said, look at yourself, idiot. 70% sattvic knowledge. See, sattvic knowledge is this. Rajasic knowledge is where you see the differences. Tamasic knowledge means you take a part as a whole. That's called tamasic knowledge. Now, what do you understand with that? Right. I'm not going into the other aspects. If I go to action, if I go to actor and all that means, less I explain, better, clarity you will have. More I explain, more you will get confused. If you don't know, listen to at least 1 or 2 lectures of that. Totally be lost there. But there's no other way. You have to go through that systematic study. Very logically they proceed. Define your status. Right now, after filling up all those things, you will find yourself having 7 items. Then total all that, divide that by 7. How much of sattva, how much of rajas, how much of tamas you have. That will be defining what is your current spiritual status. Where do you stand today? Then we say what? Okay, yes, I have completed my chart. I know where I am standing today, sir. Now what should I do? Practical Vedanta will start. Now I am ready. Now I have prepared my chart and all those things. Now what do you want me to do, Ishwaran? He says, come to the next portion of Vedanta, which is practical Vedanta. You see? So first section we have completed. That entire section is this, where we have seen the introduction to Vedanta to your defining your current spiritual status. How you should prepare the chart, this is how you prepare the chart. You make a theoretical one first, then apply that to yourself with more or less. You don't have to be accurate. There's no necessity for accuracy here and all that. Approximation only is required here. Approximated doesn't matter. You put it exaggeratedly also, nothing wrong in that. You see, it's not that it's a crime or anything. Make it and keep it beyond the reach of anyone else. Right? Particularly your spouse. Because first thing they will do is, the moment they see how tamasic you are, they'll say, this is exactly what I've been telling you all these days. At least now you realized. For this you have to spend so much of time, is it? You see, so don't, show to everybody. There's no necessity, right? So there's no need to be checking, have I put it properly, I have not put it properly, and all is not required. They are only approximate. Approximately you will know. But this is not just a hypothetical one simply saying, I am this much of sattvic, this much of rajas, this much of tamas. No. There is a clarity you have. Along with that, if there is any correction to be made, you know in which dimension you have to start your correction process. From where you have to begin your correction process. Thus, when you keep correcting your personality, what happens is the solid wall, you keep polishing and polishing and polishing and polishing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing, becomes thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. A point would come where it will become so thin, transparency will come into picture. till the time you will not be able to see what is on the other side. The thickness of the screen is so heavy, you can't see. Keep scrubbing, keep scrubbing, keep scrubbing. What happens there? Over a period of time, the thickness keeps reducing, reducing, reducing. Then there are gaps visible. Through the gap, you get an idea of the outside. You can see what is outside. But still, you can't jump over, right? Then you remove that entire screen. You see the vision. That is the goal of religion, to take you to the self, which is the promise given by Vedanta in the first chapter itself. Introduction to Vedanta says, what is the job of Vedanta? Is to introduce yourself to yourself. That's the job of Vedanta. If that is the job of Vedanta, what it has to do, sir? First, do this. Follow basic principle of life. Then he goes little detail, and now he said exactly what is your current spiritual status you can identify, and you are ready to start the work. Till now, there is nothing to start. Your work will start only from now on. Right? There, he starts the next portion, practical Vedanta. We'll do that in the next class. Thank you. Hari Om.